Hello everyone, I'm Ola and this is Coding is for Girls. Today we will learn the very basic of Python programming language. If you haven't installed it yet, check my previous video where I explain what is a programming language and how to install Python. Why we use language? Why we speak? Obviously, we do that to communicate with other people. But to do that effectively, we use the language the person understands. And if we have a closer look at the languages, we will discover that there are special words there, the special grammar we follow. Some words have a special function, like noun, verbs, adjectives. Language also in contextual, so depending on the context of the conversation, some things can mean something else, like your math teacher is a different teacher than your friend's one. We will find all these things in programming languages too. Special grammar, keywords, and context in our variables. Let's open command line or terminal on your computer. If you don't know how to do that, check my previous video about command line and you'll know everything you need to know at this point. In command line, we will type Python 3. After running that, the prompt changes from $$ to 3 greater than signs. It means we are no longer giving orders to our operating system from command line, but now we are inside Python interpreter and all we write needs to be written in Python language. So writing things we learned in command line videos, so like ls or cd, will fail. Actually, let's try how it will fail in Python. Python interpreter will tell us that there is nothing called ls. We will get name error. Okay, time to see that Python is not dumber than, let's say, the simplest calculator out there. Let's check if Python could add numbers, like 2 plus 3. We type 2 plus 3 and hit enter. The result appears immediately and it's correct, it's 5. So Python knows math. But let's check if it can multiply, divide and subtract. So 4 multiple 5, yes, it's 20. 5 minus 1, correct answer, it's 4. 40 divided by 2, yes, it's 20. Perfect. Numbers, and in this scenario, integers are one of the Python so-called built-in types. One of the main things that the programming language needs to deal with is answer the question how you should represent data, so the language will understand what you try to achieve. Is it a number, is it text, or is it something else? How could you tell to your programming language then what's your name, for example? To do that, you need to use the format that your programming language is expecting. In Python, we have a number of built-in types that allows us to communicate with computer effectively. Numbers we just use are one of the built-in types in Python. That's the representation of integer numbers. But what if you want to tell Python what's your name? This is obviously not integer. Your name is a text. Typing your name in Python interpreter like this will result in error, so it's not good. Well, here comes next built-in type called string. To write a string, we need to wrap text we want to write with quotes. Okay, so let's try double quotes. This time it worked. Python recognized your name as a text. You could also use single quotes too, like this. Yeah, let's try with spaces in between, for example, like saying hello world. The interesting thing in programming languages like Python is that you could add to text using plus operator like this. In Python, we could even multiply text. So if you want your name to be repeated 3 times, you could type it as your name multiply by 3. Okay, but what if we want to actually have text with quotes inside, like my name is, in quotes, Ola? Well, if we type it like this, there is an error again, syntax error. If we want to use double quotes inside the string defined with double quotes, we simply could use single quotes instead to wrap our string. And it works perfectly alright. Okay, but let's make it even harder. What if we want to have a text that contains both double quotes and single quotes? Well, Python can deal with that, and to do that, in the problematic quote, so if we wrap our text with single quotes and we have a single quote inside the text, we can use backslash just before the single quote inside our text. It's called escaping, and it's nothing more than telling Python, hey, this is not the end of our text yet. Okay, let's try it first without backslash to see an error. So I type my name is Ola and I'm a programmer. Yes, Python complains that there is a syntax error. That basically means that Python does not understand what we try to tell. Now let's escape a single quote, that is a problem here, by using backslash just before it. So my name is Ola and I, backslash, single quote, am a programmer. This time it's perfectly okay. And to have it nicely displayed, we could type print and the text with escaped single quote. Now let's move to something more complicated. Built-in types could have some special superpowers. They called methods and they could do some magic with your object. In this scenario, the text. For example, let's say we want to make a text uppercase. There is a method, our magic spell, called upper that could be run on any text. To make it work, we type dot after our text, then upper and opening and closing parentheses, like this. Upper method, our magic spell, worked. We'll talk a little bit more about methods later on in this series, in next videos, so don't worry about it. In Python there is also something called function, and we'll talk much more about it also in next videos. But now let's see some very easy function that we can use with text. Let's say we want to know how many letters the text we just typed have. We can use the function len, so let's type this, len open parenthesis, our name and close parenthesis, and it correctly counted number of letters. Make sure to play with built-in types, just learn about integers and text. See what's possible, see what causes the errors. And actually this brings us to the next thing I want to talk about, the errors. We already saw some of them, right? We saw syntax errors and name errors. So let's have a closer look now. But first let's generate some error. So let's use function len with not text but integer, like 200. Now we try to count characters of something that is not text but is a number, so it resulted in an error. If you want to learn how to code, it's very important to learn that errors are your best friend and they will tell you what's problematic, what is not working yet. They are important, so we need to learn how to read them. This time we get type error. Python says that object of type integer has no length. In the line above it, it says where the error happened, in line 1. Errors are important, and I think it's worth a while to create a little cheat sheet for you, like a little notebook, so you take all the errors you see and write them down and write a little explanation what the error means. Like in case of syntax error, Python is telling you that it does not understand what's going on, so there is a problem with the syntax. So you, for example, mistype something. Or in case of name error, Python says that it does not know what something means. So it's not mistype, but there is something unknown, which is different. So, for example, when you have a variable that is not defined yet, then Python will throw this error. Yes, but what is the variable, you'll ask? And this brings us to the next point I want to talk about today. Variables are one of the most important concepts in all programming languages. Remember all these math formulas, for example, for area of the square containing letters instead of numbers? Thanks to these formulas, for example, for area of the square, no matter how big your square was, 1 meter or 2 meters or 100 meters, you know how to calculate the area of that. So our formula A multiple A contains a variable. A is a variable. So it is a name for a concept, like the length of the side of our square. Concepts of variables is extremely important in computer science. It allows you to define the certain formulas or steps you need to follow no matter what is actual value. For example, if we would like Python to say hi to the user no matter who is the user and what's the name of the user, we could do that. We could create a formula that does that. So far, to make Python say hi to you, we need to type the whole text like hi Ola. But what if I want to make it work for any name like Mary or Liz? If Ola is a name, then what we really want to do is say hi and then the name. So we could split our text to hi plus Ola. Now let's replace Ola with variable name. We'll have hi plus name. Name is the variable. We actually could run it for any value that is stored in variable. It could be Liz, Mary, Barbara, or Sonia, or anything else. We created something abstract, something reusable. And this is quintessence of computer science. Create formulas, create steps that could be reused with different values we provide to our computer. Okay, but let's try it in our Python interpreter. If we type now hi plus name, there is an error. It's name error. That means that variable name is undefined. What does it mean? It means that there is no value provided in a name variable yet. Variable is empty, there is nothing there. To run it properly without error, we need to define the value for the variable. We need to put some actual value to the variable name. Let's do that. We do that by assigning the value using equal sign. So we type name equals Ola. So now name stores value Ola. We could run now our code, hi plus name, and it worked. Obviously, you could question why writing name equals Ola and then hi plus name is better than just simply this, hi Ola. Variables, similarly to their usage in math formulas, will be extremely useful later on when we talk about methods and function. We will be able to extract many steps, many things in one function and use that no matter what is the value we want to operate on. One of the side effects, which is very important, is also readability of the code. If we use good names for our variables, we actually know more what we try to do in our code. For example, if we would like to calculate area of a square, we could have in code simple 2 multiple 2, which means nothing to us. It's just two numbers we multiply, so it could be anything. But if we have this, area equals side multiplied by side, we actually know that we are calculating area of something using formula for area of square. That is why one of the best practices for all the programmers is to name variable nicely. It's very hard at times, and a lot of programmers struggle with that. But make sure to take some effort and name variables in some meaningful way. But wait, what happens with the variables that already have some value? For example, we have a name that contains text Ola. Can we reassign that? Can we put something else there? The answer is yes. Okay, so let's type name is Ola. Now when we check what is the value of the variable name, it's Ola. Let's try to redefine, which means change value of the variable. We use equal sign again to assign the value. So name is Liz. Now the current value of the variable is Liz, and the previous name, Ola, is gone. So the value of the variable is the last thing we assigned using equal sign. That means that this, name equals Ola, name equals Sonia, name equals Mary, will result in name variable containing the last name. So name will be just Mary. Time to learn next built-in type in Python. We already learned about integers and text. Now it's time for list. To create empty list, we open and close square parentheses. Empty list is not very interesting, so let's create a list of lottery numbers. We will put our list in a variable, so we don't need to write the lottery numbers every single time we want to use that. So let's define lottery as we open square parentheses and then 3, 42, 12, then 19, 30, 59. Lottery variable contains our first non-empty list. Now we can do a number of things with this list. For example, check how many numbers we have in this list by using a function we already learned, len. We could also use some methods, the magic powers of the given built-in type. List, for example, could be sorted. If we want our numbers to be sorted from the lowest to highest number, we could do that with sort method, like this, lottery.sort. Wait, but it does not print anything, right? The thing is that our list under the lottery variable just changed in place. So if we print lottery now with print from lottery, we will see that our list have been nicely sorted for us. What if we want to have our list reversed then? We have next handy method, next superpower of list built-in type, and it's called reverse. Let's see this in action. We type lottery.reverse and then print the variable lottery. It's perfectly reversed. You could also add something in the end of the list. There is another method for it called append. So let's try it. Lottery.append 100. And let's print the lottery. Number 100 is added at the very end of the list. Okay, all these methods, all these special powers of built-in types are very handy, but how do you know what's possible and what's not? To know all methods that Python as a language provides for all built-in types, you just need to go to the Python documentation. In doubt, just visit this page and check the documentation. Okay, so let's back to our list. One of the most important abilities of each list is to being able to refer to the elements of the list by its index. What is an index? It's the number that says what is the position of the element in the sequence. So remember our lottery variable, right? If you would like to see only the first element of the list, we could print it with this, print lottery index 0. Why 0? Well, in computer science, we index things from 0 instead of 1. So the first element is under 0, the second under 1, and so on. It might be very confusing, but just follow this pattern and it will be natural for you in some time. Okay, so we already saw that we can add element to the list. What if we want to delete the element? And not any element, but a certain element given index. If we would like to delete, for example, 30 from the list, which is a third element, so with index 2, we'll do it like this, del lottery index 2. Now when we print our lottery variable, we'll have the list not containing 30. Now let's play a little bit more with lists. What if we try to print the element of the lottery variable that has index that is too high, for example 1000? Our list has now 6 elements, but let's try to ask Python what is the element under index 1000. So we will print lottery with index 1000. You get a new type of error. This is index error. If you get this error, it means you try to access something what is not there and your list is not big enough. Of course, list could contain not only numbers. We could have list of texts like this, names is Ola, Liz and Sonia, or list of elements of different types, like mixed is Ola, 7 and the list of 1, 2, 3. Okay, we learned a lot and I'm sure you are totally exhausted. It's a lot of knowledge in one go. There will be much more in next video, but don't be afraid, just practice whatever you learned today, play with Python interpreter, see what you can do with integers, with texts, see different kinds of errors. And now let's just sum up what we learned so far. We learned how to start Python interpreter from command line. We also learned there is something called built-in types in Python and they are used to represent values, for example text or numbers. We also learned 3 built-in types so far. integers, strings, and lists. We also learned what is the variable, how to use that, and how we can print it. Finally, we learned that Python informs us that something is wrong, and we learn how to read errors in Python. It's a lot of knowledge, so make sure you feel comfortable with whatever we learned so far. If you want to learn more about Python basics, make sure to subscribe my channel and stay tuned. Have a lovely day and see you!